Welcome to the Deal Calendar. I'm TechConfidential's Mary Kathleen Flynn.
And I'm Suzanne Stevens from Corporate Dealmaker.
And this is our weekly look at some of the events coming up that we think are going to have a big impact on deal making, and also a chance for us to talk about some of the top stories that we're covering in the Deals newsroom.
Mary, since we last talked, we've had the Attorney General of New York, Andrew Cuomo, file suit against UBS over its auction rate securities business, so that's a story we'll be following. And also in the solid waste industry, Waste Management's bid for Republic Services was rejected by Republic, but Waste Management's not walking away. They've asked antitrust regulators to look into the deal, and at the same time, Republic and Allied are moving forward with their merger. They've recently released plans on how they will integrate the companies.
And moving forward in the days ahead, on Monday, July 28th, there's an EU provisional deadline in the Mars-Wrigley deal. That's a $23 billion merger and financed by Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett. And of course, we're always fascinated to cover deals that he's involved in. I know you've been looking into some of those.
Definitely. This is a dream deal for Buffett. It's two family-owned companies, both with deep roots in their communities, and that's something that Buffett likes. The Berkshire Hathaway portfolio is full of family-owned businesses. Buffett was also a stakeholder and working behind the scenes in the Anheuser-Busch InBev deal, and also with Roman Haas, which just recently agreed to be acquired for about $18 billion by Dow Chemical.
And another thing going on in Europe on the 29th, another EU deadline, this time for the Delta Northwest merger. And then another date coming up on July 31st is the deal for HP and EDS is supposed to close. And of course, there's been a little bit of a last-minute shareholder maneuvering on the part of EDS shareholders trying to get a sweeter deal out of HP. But until now, it's really been smooth sailing.
Happening that same day on the 31st, MetLife's purchase of EverBank Reverse Mortgage is supposed to close. And then a big date we've been waiting for, I know you've been waiting for a long time, as have Yahoo shareholders, is the Yahoo shareholder meeting happening on the 1st.
That's right. On Friday, August 1st, they'll finally have a chance to vote on the new board. Of course, most recently, Carl Icahn and Jerry Yang worked out a compromise. So the board is a little bit more stable, perhaps, than it was a little while ago. One of the things that emerged in that compromise is Jonathan Miller. Now, John Miller, he was the turnaround chief at AOL. He was the CEO of AOL and did a good job turning around that company. He looks to be a shoo-in to be on Yahoo's board. Apparently, Jerry Yang's the one who suggested him. Carl Icahn approved it. So it looks likely that he'll get voted in. And some people think that he may be the successor to Jerry Yang, and that, in fact, a turnaround pro like John Miller is exactly what Yahoo needs right now.
And a lot of technology deal makers have left the big companies in just really the last couple of months. In addition to those changes we just mentioned, we've had deal makers leave Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, and Cisco. And interestingly, a couple of them have landed at the same companies. We've had a lead deal maker from Microsoft and the head of North American sales from Google, both now at Glam Media, which is a vertical ad network. And Microsoft's Kevin Johnson, who led
the failed Yahoo bid.
Exactly, is leaving Microsoft to become CEO of Juniper Networks, which also just recently scored a deal maker from their competitor, Cisco. So a lot of maneuvering there, and certainly I think the uncertainty in a lot of those companies may be behind the departures, but also it's not unusual for tech executives to want to kind of get back to their entrepreneurial roots and move on to smaller companies.
And startups. So startups are really benefiting there. Another interesting development in the startup world, entrepreneurial world, that I was fascinated to see is Rob Kalin, who is the founder of Etsy. And Etsy is this online marketplace for handmade goods. And we've been following him closely. 28 years old. I think of him as sort of the reluctant CEO. I'm not sure he ever really wanted that kind of job to begin with. Well, now he's stepping aside. He's going to take on the role of Chief Creative Officer.
I'm glad we've gotten to know him, certainly over the months. That's it for this edition of the Deal Calendar. If you have suggestions of dates we should be aware of, send us an email at reporters@thedeal.com. I'm Suzanne Stevens.
And I'm Mary Kathleen Flynn, and we'll see you next week.